July 14th, and it's the PQI meeting, our first meeting. We have we'll refer to our mission statement and our vision, which we are all familiar with. And we will start the meeting off with first order of business being the selection of a committee chair. And as I mentioned at the Finance Committee meeting, our bylaws don't specify exactly how to handle this. So what we will do is open the floor for anyone to make a nomination for the chair. And then we will also be looking for a vice chair for the committee. So do we have any suggestions or recommendations for a committee chair?
Yeah, I'll nominate Paul.
Okay, and seconds are not required, but we will ask you if you are willing to serve.
Oh, okay. Because of my job, it's going to be really, really difficult to do that for the time frame. So I appreciate the nomination.
What if you had a good vice chair?
It would be
I
pretty
ain't staying,
challenging,
Jack.
so.
Okay.
So is that a firm no, or are you still thinking it through?
It's pretty firm because it's difficult to make these. I mean, I'm
Understandably.
dual working right now as it
Sure.
is, so it's a challenge to do that, but I do appreciate
Sure.
it. So.
I'd like
So
to
would-
nominate Peg.
Beg
I was
pardon?
gonna say, I'm willing to be your vice chair. Same. We know each other from other committees. So.
So you are willing to serve?
I nominated Peg.
Oh, you
Yes.
nominated. I'm sorry. With
That's the part you
with the
heard was-
repartee here. Okay. And Peg, are you willing to serve?
I'd rather be vice chair.
Okay.
It's just-
Well, we will consider that a
Okay,
nomination for
let's
vice chair.
nominate.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bob would be a good. I'll serve.
Okay, so we have, and you're willing to serve, Bob?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for the chair? We don't have to ask 3 times.
Okay,
How about for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair? So the slate is nominated Bob for chair and Peg for vice chair. Why don't we do this by voice vote? All those in favor of the slate of those 2 positions respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. So by unanimous consent, those are our officers, and we'll turn the meeting over to Bob.
Okay, so on the agenda here, obviously under new business, the first thing we have to decide is the frequency of our meetings. How often makes the most sense, given the workload ahead of us, and it appears to me that Dr. Bashir has made a recommendation that we meet every other month unless the workload determines that we need to meet more or less. So,
yeah, I think that's good for now to see. When we were coming up with what we would talk about in this committee, I'll warn you, we came up with like 8,000 items.
sure.
Because, wow, we have an opportunity, but I'd like to recommend you start every other month until we get into a rhythm. And see what other things, because it's our intent to have like a lot of the annual performance reports done here and a lot of these things, and you can quickly add up. But, so I'm recommending every other month and for, maybe we could try it for a period of time, whatever you decide, and then maybe 6 months and then see if the frequency. The only real pressing thing that I want this group to see is if we're developing a brand new program. Like maybe not a new contract, but a brand new type of program. That I want this group to approve it before even the finance committee gets into financing it. Because anything that we do that's brand new, it's not part of our traditional service array or something new. I want this group to have a firm understanding and why we would pursue to do that. So the performance and quality points is important, but it's also, we used to call this programming. It's understanding, evaluating the programs. And so what I would say is the only exception to every other month, if it's like, gee, the state wants us to do this brand new thing, and I'd rather not have this group wait 2 months to see it. Because then when you get into the finance part of it, it's all the
Sure.
questions of why we're doing it and how it fits in the service array would be answered by this committee. which happens before finance.
Any other comments or questions? Yeah.
Yeah, this is more along the lines, Michael, about the parameters of this group, and if
Sure.
you can help to define that, because I know that there's a lot of work groups that go on at
Yeah,
the agency here, and there's a lot of discussion that goes on, but how can this group be most beneficial to?
Yeah.
Like, how deep do you want us to get into that information? Do we get prescriptive in here, or what is it that you want us?
yeah, it'd take me a couple minutes to go through it.
Yeah,
So it's really taking the mental health code section in it, and it's like item J in this 1230, whatever the site is, that the board's responsible for program evaluation as well. Okay, and so there are many times within CMH, we have internal work groups or internal committees that in the past may have led to kind of a general presentation of some findings once a year at the full board. And it didn't really lend itself to a full discussion, like our annual performance plan that we need to do. I want this group to be able to look at it and look under the parameters of it and ask detailed questions about it. So today you see, like on the agenda, the health and safety report or the compliance report. I'm not sure if all board members are aware to what degree or how much we spend on monitoring compliance. So today's a great example to answer parameter. Today, it's like the person that was gonna present is out sick, but we will go through, and I know Anna's gonna go through the intent of the report. It's never for you to ask detailed questions like, I wanna find out more information about that person who died that's on the death report.
Right.
But you knowing this is what we do when a death occurs, and here's how we report it, and here's how we internally track it. So the public understands that there's tons of activities in terms of evaluation that we do internally that they may not have known. And it meets your requirement to ensure that we're evaluating key aspects of risk within the organization: financial risk, clinical risk, health and safety risk. So the scope isn't for you, it's for you to get an understanding of the activities, ask some general question on process, maybe make some recommendations, but it isn't to learn about and investigate individual cases that you're going to see there. And even when we tried to take out all of the protected healthcare information out of some of these reports today, you read it now, you're like, it's an incomplete sentence now, because you're like, so what was the thing? But it's the concept of the thing. The other scope is going to be something like, you'll have, Chelsea will be reporting off and on about your millage dollars at work. Here's what we've done, like we have information we're collecting, and here's how we're evaluating the number of participants in these program, and did the providers meet the goals and objectives? And you're gonna hear about a report card today. So all of that information will start coming to this committee with some detailed conclusions that will help us lead to, should we renew a contract? Because finance says, if it's like a renewal, well, what are you doing to ensure we should renew? Well, a lot of that stuff's gonna be presented here, then the full board to answer that. So the scope is oversight, being aware of all these processes, but not necessarily a drill down in like Mr. Bird saying, or Director Bird saying, well, I want to find out what happened specifically about Suzy Q.
No.
Or this particular program. So it's in generalities.
But if we saw a trend,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
then speaking to the trend and what's going on with the trend.
Yes, and just being aware of the trend.
Yeah.
Because as board members, you get approached by members of the community all the time with little bits of information about a provider or about a situation. And you think, oh my goodness, if that's true,
Right.
are we watching it? In fact, I'm aware that the board's been asked, are we looking at the quarterly material for, like, say, social rec? We're in the process of collecting it now, but you'll see some of the basic information we're collecting, and we'll be able to see the results of those. So it's still to be determined about the amount of stuff that comes here, but definitely any annual quality improvement report, any quarterly outcome measurement stuff that we're putting together will come here. Any issues in terms of the quality of care, satisfaction survey results, those things all need to come here for a little bit more scrutiny and discussion about what should go into them and what the trends mean. And luckily, this is recorded, so other board members, if they want, they can watch it. And when it comes to the full board, as a recommendation from this committee to say, approve the quality improvement plan, there would have already been some discussion about it, and we don't have to go all through the elements in the full board meeting. So I went all over the place, but did you get a general sense?
Yeah, right. I just wonder, and I make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get like in writing what that scope is? And
Sure,
as
yeah.
members come and go, that we can, I want to make sure that I'm staying in my lane about what it is that I'm supposed to be doing.
Maybe like a charge,
Sure,
committee charge?
absolutely.
Okay.
And, you know, I've sat in on a number of work groups, a lot of these topics in the past, and I knew what my role was in that group, but I just want to know how
Yeah.
to differentiate what my role was in that and what it's going to be here.
Yeah, and you have a disadvantage. Being,
That was an advantage.
well, no, it's a disadvantage when figuring out a role.
Yeah.
Because Paul doesn't like me to call him this, but he's an expert on CMH quality and performance improvement. So it'd be hard for you not to look at certain things like, and have 100 questions. And I'm saying, ask those in the contents of, I know you're looking at these variables, right?
Mhm.
But not, I want to see a report on my desk,
Right.
the next day. So we'll put a charge together.
It would have been a great chair.
Yeah, I know, right?
If I could piggyback on this, Paul,
Yeah.
because I think there's a valid question here for all the board members. We are a policy board.
Right.
We don't get
Right.
down into the weeds. We
Yeah.
don't give specific direction, but we're charged with oversight in
Yeah.
order to evaluate the effectiveness of the organization and meeting its required
Great
responsibilities.
point. Yeah.
How do we do that?
Mhm.
If I have a question about, let's say this, the person we were discussing who committed suicide
Right,
over in Kent County, suppose that it would happen in Ottawa County. And I know, within the last year, there was a young man who jumped off a bridge on M40 onto
Right.
196. Yeah, I think he was a consumer of Allegan County, but if he was one of the people who we serve, as a board member, how do we deal with that in order, and not shirk our responsibilities? Is it okay? Do we go directly to Michael?
Sure.
Can we raise a question at a board meeting to say, can you give us some idea of,
Yeah.
did we do our job right there?
right. So if you don't mind, I'll answer that now, if it's okay, Chair.
Yep.
So if you're aware of something as a board member, and it's before, not during one of our, you always, in a sense, feel free to contact. Hey, saw this thing, what can you tell me, right? When we're in public meetings, I can't give out any PHI. So I can only talk about, how do we handle like situations? So anytime we learn of X, here's what we do, these steps. And then you would be able to say, well, did we do that in this case? And if it's really fresh, I'd say to be determined, but that's the measuring stick.
Right.
It's how we respond to, say, sentinel events or critical incidents. But as a board member, what I'd rather have happen is, I work for you, is if you hear from me, just call me up or email me. Hey, I heard this, is this out? Because I can give you specific information that I can't share in a public meeting. Right? And the role is, okay, the real answer is, could you take suicide as a sentinel event? Could it have been prevented? Is really what people want to know. Were we aware of the situation? Did we have staff that were involved in the situation? Things like that. And in our sentinel event reporting, we can answer that. We even do a review of death. And we can give you some general findings that may or may not, in the public sense, be connected to the exact incident, but you'd be able to connect the dots to say, gee, in reviewing the last set of sentinel events, we noticed in our process, we missed the mark here, here, and here, or everything went according to our policy, or we had to adjust our policy. Because ultimately, when you hear of events like sentinel events, it's could have it been prevented? That's the basis of what's called a root cause analysis. You're looking at all of the systems around that situation and asking the question, was something missed and do we need to address it? And, in the case of the loss of life with the method of suicide, it's hard to determine that, because what I educate the community about all the time, unless you're with somebody 24 hours a day, you might have been able to prevent it that hour. And that's what hospitals are for. The main reason for a hospital for people that are suicidal isn't the fancy dancy treatment. It's observation within a protected environment. In fact, every other aspect of a hospital can be done outside of a hospital. Medication evaluation, titration. So the advantage of a hospital or a crisis residential program is observation that's 24/7. So, but that's one of the things. Did we miss that? And their need for that? So policy board, yes. Responsible to ensure that we have processes for things, yes, through me. And me presenting that through the staff of what we're doing and you adding parameters for extra levels of evaluation, not to micromanage, but to say, gee, sounds like we don't even know about like this aspect of the thing. And I know I'm talking hypothetical, but each situation allows an opportunity for improvement. So, you know, when I used to watch the board members, board meetings, when I wasn't the CEO, we had specific requests from board members for very specific types of evaluations that were so detailed, they took on the role of the executive director. And we're trying to prevent that. Like I said, at one meeting, if I present to you a contract that you could deny, I have failed. I should know the parameters of approval. Now, there may be, we need more time or flush this out, but I'm the chief executive officer of the mental health code that works on your behalf to ensure the detailed information are followed. And that's why, which I hope you never do, you can fire me with a 2/3 majority at any time. If I fail to operationalize the policy board function of the board. And I'll tell you, I take that role obviously very seriously, but this is a way to ensure the public understands this committee of, I'm sure they're unaware of the tons of evaluations we do just to make sure that our provider network's adequate, that quality of services are there. You normally only hear of the people that have a complaint and how we deal with that. So appeals and grievances we'll eventually bring here. Otto has this neat thing. I don't know if you've seen this yet, Anna, because you were on vacation or didn't know. It has like an appeals and grievance log. You press a button, it shows you all of them. Like, you know, who filed an appeal, what the appeal was, where it's in the process. There's a function in our new Otto thing that, yay, finally it's automized. But that's a long-winded approach to that, but did it make sense?
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Very good. So we have an idea of what the scope is. Any other questions
And I'll write it out.
or comments? Okay, do we need a vote as to the frequency of meetings?
Yeah, it is a motion.
I believe we do need to make a motion. I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation to start meetings at every other month at this particular time.
So moved. Support.
We'll do this by voice vote. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay. Our next item of business is to move on to the provider scorecards. Bill? The prefer Bill or?
Yeah, Bill,
Okay.
please, yeah.
Good. So we go to attachment A.
Yeah. So I've been here for just a little over 2 years, and Vonnie will remember for sure when, I first started, we had a whole round of contracts that had to come to the board for approval. I believe it was 89 one month. I put you guys in a horrible spot, hey, oh my God, I was supposed to evaluate all those and everything. So, one thing that's been in the works for a really long time is to get some type of a scorecard going that we can provide to you as board members before you vote on a new contract. So then you just got a feel for the organization. When I was at Network 180 way back in the day, we did a really super big scorecard, report card, we called it. And that was an issue because people didn't like the concept of a report card type thing. So that's what we're calling the scorecard. And what I really wanted to do was to get a bunch of indicators that will help you make a decision that are very non-controversial. They're yes or no, there's not agency going, I don't agree with that length of stay, or, those type of things. So I want it to be something that's really, it's black and white as much as possible. So here we are.
Bill, may I ask,
Yeah,
what, is this providers? Like contract providers?
yeah,
I'm just like, what is the?
yeah. So my goal would be to have, to next month to bring, it's like 60 of these,
Okay,
to the board, and that will be all of our adult foster care homes. And then next month it'll be everybody else. If we're able to get everybody else in earlier, then we'll do that, because in September it would be 83 contracts. So, yeah.
So is this just within Ottawa County? Are you doing any reciprocity for outside of the county, or are you reviewing those as well?
Oh, you can just imagine how much fun that conversation
Yeah.
was.
If anybody that has a contract,
Anybody? Okay,
Okay.
doesn't matter where they are, Mars, I don't care.
okay,
Invited it to be a reciprocity thing with the other
Okay.
partners, but they were not ready for that.
even within region
Yeah.
and in the LRE,
Yeah.
there's not even shared?
No,
Wow,
So,
okay,
so
all right.
this will be specific to our data.
Okay, all
Just
right,
so you know.
okay,
But I tried.
yeah,
But we have clients who we place in locations around the state. Let's say we place someone at David's House Ministry in Camp
Yeah,
Kennedy.
yeah.
Would you do this for that?
Yeah.
because they have a
So,
contract.
every
Yeah.
contract we have,
Okay, that's
We're
what I
doing-
wanted to clarify.
Right,
inpatient hospitals.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
right.
So the only ones I'm trying to stay away from would be like millage type ones, because a lot of that doesn't fit in this. It's one that'll be like a Medicaid provided service.
Yeah, we will have a scorecard for non-Medicaid services,
Bill, is this a new form?
but individualized.
I'm sorry.
Is this a new form?
Yeah, well, you know, I can find it, of the form back to 2008.
Okay,
So that's how long.
so this is a revised. form.
Yeah, but
So
yeah, it's very.
it's a living
significant.
document.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, it took a lot of stuff out. That was like, we're not gonna be able to just,
Yeah,
yeah, so, yeah.
This has been a project that has been long under work.
Sure.
So when Bill started with us, this was one of the things that we wanted to really see it finally come to fruition. And
Right.
so Bill really has taken the lead in getting this fully developed.
excellent. Yeah,
What he was working off of was a start.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
not fully developed yet.
yeah. And so, this will need to be adopted at some particular point. Okay,
Yeah, so kind of rough plan is to get all this data finalized in these reports within the next 2 weeks,
okay,
and then send it out to each of the providers to give them, an opportunity to provide feedback, and then bring to the committees and the board next month.
excellent.
But in terms of adoption, what that means to me is it's adopted within our policy and procedure
Yes,
with contractors to complete, that will complete this. You wouldn't have to adopt the form at all.
no, internally you would do that.
Right.
I'm thinking more about CARP accreditation
Oh, sure.
and regards to having an adoption date on the,
Oh, yeah, you got it.
Oh,
you
Yeah,
know, yeah, in terms of those kinds of things.
sure.
Having done a number of accreditations,
Yeah.
they'll ding you on anything.
That's right.
And if you make any adjustments to it,
Good.
Yeah,
make the adjustment.
absolutely
Okay,
right.
good.
Okay.
We'd probably do that in the process with the policy and procedure connected to
Yeah.
it, revision of the policy and procedure, added this component. And it's like a first phase.
Mhm.
We may like some of these items, we may want to add more light items, we may remove them.
Right.
I just told Bill, get something, and they're like, we got it. In fact, I wanted, wait, let's just get this out. See what the results yield. The
Yeah.
utility of the scorecard hasn't been tested yet.
Right.
Mhm.
And you'll get feedback from the
Yeah.
providers as well, the contract agencies. Okay, good.
so each provider is a review once a year, is that what it is?
Well,
Or are you
yeah,
doing it every other year,
I
or-
thought We would do it when the contracts are renewed, so it'd be
Gotcha.
every other year,
Okay,
but I'm not married to that at all, so.
It's especially relevant if you, I'm sorry, Bill, just
Yeah.
jumped in there. When we're bringing a contract for contract renewal. And the finance committee and the full board are kind of like, well, we're taking it that you put on the list here for renewal, you think they're okay to renewal. Well, until this, I'd be like, yeah, it's okay to, there wasn't the evidence to say the scorecard will be able to use to, are we aware of the issues? Are we working with them if there are issues?
Mhm.
And as a basis for contract renewal. See, I don't envision in the future, Bill, us renewing a contract without a, now amending a contract, we might not do, because we amend contracts sometimes within the middle of that. But a renewal to me means we're saying, yes, they should remain a provider. And we've done due diligence in certain areas to look at it. You know, you'll notice some of the things, and what you will notice is not on here is a threshold of, did they have any like recipient rights violations submitted and complete, you know, yeah, are we working? Because the incident might be so egregious, you couldn't have a number. It'd be the number of one, that's all it took. And so terminating a contract isn't directly related to a scorecard rating, because termination could happen as a result of a bad scorecard, and we don't think that, or an incident happen that transcends the ability of a scorecard.
Gotcha.
So that's why you don't see a threshold of like one or more of these equal like don't renew. Because there sometimes we have contract issues. It doesn't matter what the score is. It could be all yeses, and there was one major event that we're not comfortable continuing the contract, which we'd have to defend, of course. Right? But that's why you don't see language, the number of things. We went with yes, no, and some of the wording, and we'll see about the utility of the yes, no, once we get it out there.
Yeah, just the, I mean, and I don't know, like, so, and maybe you had touched upon this, Michael, and I didn't catch it, but like, if there are any no's on here, is there like one, how many no's results in no contract? Or
Well-
it depends on which item it is, because some are maybe,
Yeah, it could be different weighting.
right,
Or envisioning that we have a kind of a contract meeting that we have monthly, and we
Okay.
look at what's coming to the board, okay?
Mhm.
And what we're recommending for renewal. I'm envisioning a time when we're bringing in the results of some of these things, and if there are no's, looking at it as a group and determining and being able to defend if we're not gonna renew the contract.
right, okay.
Because if not, then I'm into the total numbers of no's could kick you into like this remedial. You could have a remedial plan of correction for any one of these items for no's.
Mhm.
So we do have a monthly internal contract and rate setting group that we're looking at, believe it or not. Every contract that we're bringing to the board for anything, we go through. And I'm a stickler on it. Like if it's not on the list in that meeting, it doesn't come to you unless it's an emergency walkthrough, and then Bill and I and Anna talk about it and make the decision. But I envision that would be the process for us to renew, because to me, I'm sitting in that meeting, I'm going, we're gonna renew it. I'm like, are they okay? And Bill's been able to say, and our compliance officer, Kristen, here are the things we're working on that we can capture here.
Great, okay.
And in our compliance committee, we have a section for that.
I appreciate the work that you put into it.
Oh, thank
I
you.
really do.
Yeah, it's
I mean, it's not easy stuff, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it'll be a work in progress, so you know, so a couple of years from now, there'll be more need to it. But,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, you want me to go through each indicator really quick, just so you get a, quick understanding, or you're pretty comfortable with it?
I'm comfortable.
I read it online, like
Same.
Amanda said. Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with it too. I just, a little bit of question about like, the LRE. If they've been approved by the LRE, yeah, LRE does the site visit. This is separate from, I just am looking at, is there some redundancy or, I think it's great work, Bill.
No,
but-
no, this is,
Yeah,
yeah, you know, Paul and I, we were at the LRE going twice, so you're gonna get such a kick out of this conversation now, so I don't know where you're at. So back in the old days would be when Paul and I were there, one of my responsibilities was the site review. And, we went to every, agency with a lot of pressure that if we did not get that site review out within 30 days, on day 31, directors were calling and complaining. And Paul can attest to all that fun stuff that we had. So, fast forward to now. What happened before is I would send the copy of the report to the CMH director and then to the quality person. So then they were in the loop. Somewhere along the lines, that all stopped. So when I started, I was kind of like, hey, you know, how do I know, you know, how things are going, you know, with the site reviews and whatnot? And what we learned is, that the site reviews were up in the LRE SharePoint, so I was able to get access to that. And then myself and then Leah Osterhaven, and Leah looks at the residential ones and I look at the clinical one to see was the site review completed, were the training records done, was there a corrective action plan, that type of stuff. And one thing we learned is that the LRE stopped reviewing training first, and that was like, ooh, that's kind of a big deal. So what we're doing right now is we're saying, oh, it's so close to the end of the year, I can't, do training records. So we're sending attestations to all the providers saying, just tell me that we're gonna do a trust and then we'll verify later type situation where, if you say that you're completing that everybody's completing their trainings, that will count that as good on this. But next year, the LRE is getting back to doing the training type things, and then we'll go from there.
But
So
the
hopefully-
questions related to the directionality and duplication of auditing. And it depends on the type of contracts. This is a generic form. There are some contracts the LRE are not looking at. They've delegated that to us. We may have to add something to like NA to some of these categories because the contract, they're never subject to LRE, the type of contract evaluation. The residential ones are in that purgatory.
Yeah.
For sure, and you've done a great job, kind of like, we've gotta ensure, ultimately, even if it's the LRE's role, we have to ensure that the people serving our people are adequately trained. And I don't care if somebody else is supposed to do it. If I'm managing that contract as well, I gotta make sure, so. This one section, section 4, subject to the type of contract and some of the nuances that we're talking about. Because there are certain contracts that, again, the LRE would never audit. It's a delegated function to us. Cause that's a good, I saw where you're looking at, oh boy, we're gonna audit the auditors, and why are we doing that?
Yeah, anytime there's a no or not applicable, then we'll write the rationale why, so you're gonna have to try to guess why we did that.
Right.
So, yeah, that'd be good.
Under comments, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the complaints I've heard from providers, if you're an AFC home, you may have people from 4 different counties residing in your home. You get audited in each one of those counties. Is there any way we can consolidate that effort
Yeah,
by saying, we will do the audit and send a copy to you?
Yeah.
Let them accept that as due
Yeah.
diligence.
yeah, that's what we really tried to hammer, back in the old days again, is like, we don't want you to come in, I don't know, Lansing side, you don't need to come and do that audit. As soon as we're done, we'll forward you the results, type of thing. And it depends on the CMH. Some are willing to, do that and some aren't. We always do it. If there's somebody down in Kalamazoo, we're gonna get that report and call it good. We're not gonna bother the home. So the problem is folks fear about their jobs. Be honest with you, that if I give up that, how safe is my job gonna be?
Right.
Type of thing. That's the
auditor's
biggest,
job.
Yeah.
that's the biggest hurdle that we have. So,
Now we have people, recently we approved the placement for someone over in the Lansing or Flint area, I forget exactly where.
Yeah.
You wouldn't take this survey and go over there and do it yourself. But if we're paying a COFR fee for those, we would expect that CMH agency to do something similar to this.
yes, correct,
Yeah.
correct. So then, like, for example, Flat Rock, and that would be, the Flint area folks.
Mhm.
That we will ask for a copy of the report. Actually, that's a bad example because.
Well,
we
no,
ended
for the
up going and
auditing,
doing
report,
that.
there are pieces of this scorecard that we would still do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Regardless of where they're located, there are certain pieces like site visits, if it's specific for residential, that we would utilize another CMH or regional entity in some cases as evaluation.
Okay.
We still don't have reciprocity in the most simplistic of things of training reciprocity. It's one of the failures of our system, to be honest with you. We couldn't pull it off.
Mhm.
There were certain regions that tried,
Yeah.
believe me, and worked well, but our region has been very difficult to have uniform agreement among the CMH partners to accept anything that's uniform, to be honest.
And that's just in our LRE.
Mhm.
What about statewide.
Well, when I was a provider, I had no trouble working with, say, the mid-region in Michigan or other PHPs. There was 100%. You got it, just send it over from somewhere else. And I didn't have any issues whatsoever. It was only when I was dealing with my own region, this one, that they would not accept something from somewhere else. So it's ironic, isn't it? But you know, that's the case. And at David's house, we'd have many times where the Ionia CMH person would say, oh, they did one here, just send us it over. If we have any questions, or we'll let you know, but this is great. It's already done, check. Because they trusted the other person.
Right.
And everybody has to have their own forms and their own, you know. It is about jobs, ultimately.
But the reality of that is also is that some regions do not do very thorough reviews though, too.
Right.
So you have to watch out for that as well.
Mhm.
That they'll just overlook some things that maybe this region wouldn't.
Right.
So yeah, the majority of the things are things that we need to collect, you know, certificates of insurance and that type of stuff that has to be specific to us, but yeah. When we can do reciprocity, we do.
And it would be helpful if there were consistent forms across the state or processes as to how you're doing the reviews.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do reciprocity
Yeah.
as well, so. Making sure that you're looking at the same things.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we're good.
Okay, so I apologize in advance, the next couple months, you're gonna get a lot of stuff from me.
We appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for everything. Okay, now we move on to the consent items. Suggested motion is to approve by consent the agenda for the July 14th CMHOC Performance and Quality Improvement Committee. I'll entertain a motion.
Support.
Any questions? No questions, we'll take by voice vote. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda for the July 14th, 2025 CMHOC Performance and Quality Improvement Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say same.
Next time, Mr. Chair, we'll move it up the agenda so you can approve the agenda before.
That's all right.
Yeah, we just like, that's the only consent agenda we had, was something to bring to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just know something,
Item 5, presentation, any presentation?
not today. In the future, you'll have program sub-elements, not like a program from Family Services or a program from MI Adult.
Sure.
The full board will start this month getting system overviews, like family services, the whole system with certain parameters, 15 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. But here we'll get detailed, hey, let us tell you about home-based services. Or next month, it could be the CIT program. So this committee will get presentations on specific programs that are part of divisions. The full board will get full division overview, so they know. Because if not, you have to get like an org chart. Like, is that part of Katie Clausen's program? So in the future, you'll see, we almost had a presentation this week for family services, but Katie wanted to do the full one at the full board, Katie Clausen first.
Okay.
So then when you're at the subcommittee, it's like, this is where it fits in the family service continuum services. So you would know that. You'd have the information about the bigger program, full board, specific sub-elements, this committee, if that makes sense.
Good.
So you get a sense of the detailed programs here.
And obviously, there's no old business here.
Yep.
You go to regular committee business, the access and crisis utilization report.
Yeah, that's me.
After the years.
So these were, I was giving out the full board. And I thought this is the right committee for it. We'd still include this information for the full board and the full board packet as part of the PQI committee packet. First one I want you to take a look at is the crisis contact. It should say 99 contacts. It says attachment B, right? If you remember last board member, if you look for the far right where it says 23% did not result in an inpatient stay. Remember last month, it was like 44%. It was a much higher number, and I was concerned that we had a higher percentage of people that could not be diverted from hospitalization, even though the total count is about the same as this one. To my pleasant surprise, when we get to the last page of this series of documents, you'll see the annual trend. We're now below our, this month went below our anticipated threshold of 25%. Is what we're usually certain for. And so when I first get this, and again, we had to have them put the report a little quicker this time because of this meeting. And so Olivia Martin, who works in that department, she's like, hopefully I can get the data. She was so excited. I got it. Because remember, we're switched to a new system. So where the data is changed. So 99 crisis contacts, that's anybody that contacted us in a crisis. 77% did not result in inpatient stays. 23% did. Now, we don't have yet in our reporting, and we will do it quarterly about length of stays in the hospital. And, if you have like 10 admissions, but they're like 40 days and, so we'll get better at reporting like length of stay in the hospital, length of stay at these different areas of diversion. So this is phase 1. And you'll notice at the bottom, it says outcome, and there's a table, and it's reflected with the bar graphs above. And the bar graphs are both in adult and child. The child is a little bit the lighter blue. So in inpatient stays, you can tell there's only one child in this reporting period. Crisis residential, there were 0. It will always be 0. There really isn't a crisis residential unit that we have approved for children or adolescents. So that should be pretty much, if there is, it's in a weird situation. Partial hospitalization is done at the inpatient location, but people go during the day. I'm saying this for the community that's listening, or they know what that is. And we use that now as both a preventative tool of diverting people from going in the hospital and spending the night, and as a step down. And I'm gonna have to watch like a hawk the 2 areas I'm about to tell you right now. Crisis residential and the partial. Because you remember, Hope Network, we had to put out a joint statement in closing the Robert Brown Center. Now, listen, we would have kept it open if Hope Network would have allowed us only to pay for 4 beds, not 6, or lower the rate. It just wasn't fiscally responsible to keep it open. But just so you and the community know, we would have kept it open if we could have reached a deal. We just weren't able to. So now I have to watch, do we indeed divert people to other crisis residential programs? And do we indeed use partial hospitalization as a preventative factor because we don't have Robert Brown? So I'll be watching that closely. So that's how you can look at this report and say, what is the impact of closing one or more of the different ways we divert people? And do we see, it would have to be over a 2 to 3 month trend. 1 month wouldn't tell you much. Are we saying an increase in hospitalization because we think, gee, removing that one other intervention really had a negative impact? We believe we can absorb most of it with other, and we would have kept doing it if we would have had other CMH partners that are willing to use Robert Brown. But I offer this report to the committee as one of the ways that I look to drill down what's happening.
Michael, on the other end of, and maybe you have that as far as like total hospitalization days, I don't know if that's like here, that's in here or not.
It's not, and
Okay.
that's what we have to do. We have to create a different report that you can see that looks at total amount of days in the hospital, because the real cost is about the days, not necessarily the number of admissions. So the admissions say, what's the flow? But if we have 2 people that go in for 180 days, well, it doesn't matter what else we're doing here from a cost perspective. So there are 2 elements we need to add to this is total days utilized per month per thing. The other one forgets me, I'll come back to it, but I wrote a note on
So,
it.
I mean, just to carry through, so with the impact of Robert Brown being closed, this is like also a concern because a big crisis residential can also be used as a step down to
Yeah,
inpatient stay.
Yeah.
And so like if you don't have access to crisis residential, then that
Mhm.
length of stay could increase as well. So
yeah,
there's the opportunity to be able to kind of view as to how often that is happening, step down to crisis.
yeah. So on the chart now, we have step down into crisis residential. So we'll have to see if that number dramatically changes.
Mhm.
But even when we had Robert Brown open for all of these admissions, there was only 6 of them,
Mhm.
right? And so when you look at partial hospitalization step down, there was 2, right? And so anticipate the partial hospitalization step downs to increase and the residential not to fall off the cliff.
Mhm.
So, excuse me, so that and the number of days utilized will give us a good evaluation
Right.
point, and we'll add that.
Yeah.
But, this is like the snapshot, and like, all right, are we diverting people?
Mhm.
But I was happy to see, that number 20, go back down to 23%. Cause it was like, oh no,
Yeah, it was pretty high.
almost half the people that came in for a crisis contact went into the hospital.
Is there any sense of year over year, whether that's?
Yeah.
Is there something going
On the
on?
last page of this, let's just go to that one real
Yeah.
quick. It gives you the historical
Oh,
time.
okay.
And it's back to December, that's when I really started collecting the data in a certain way. But we can see the trend data, so like, the inpatient line is the one, you see the dotted line, that's our threshold of 25%.
Yeah.
We've always kind of like skimmed, a little bit over skimmed it, and we had that 1 month that went way up and then down.
Yeah,
And then the crisis residential line is there too.
yeah,
And we don't have a threshold amount for that. We don't have like a dotted line saying we expect X amount of them to go to crisis residential.
yeah.
We've also added this other line, which is step down.
Hmm.
So the step down and so we'll get this chart reflecting other things like partial hospitalization too.
Sure.
But we just started collecting data.
Okay.
And you also mentioned that you're looking into Holland Hospital for
Yeah.
crisis residential as an option then potentially.
Yeah, like especially the step down step into partial.
Yeah.
But they gave us such a good rate on their inpatient rate, it's almost the same cost
Okay.
as what the Brown Center was.
Mhm.
Okay.
And if I can get inpatient service at crisis residential cost, that's a better level of care. And so as long as that, one of the things that Holland Hospital we're working on is that they have two type of beds there. They have a PICU, which is kind of like intensive crisis bed. And then they have like a traditional psychiatric bed. A lot of our folks need the PICU and they're usually full, even though we've reserved some beds on both sides of that. So we're looking to figure out what's the balance of their kind of intensive care, with lack of a better word, for psychiatric people that we can get with our guaranteed beds versus the general population, because we need more of our folks are really ill when they go in. It's not like
Right.
I'm thinking of hurting myself and I can't be safe. These people are psychotic or all kinds of different things.
Right.
So we're looking at that relationship, but it's been a good partnership to work with them, and we do get some hometown coordination, which is nice. And our teams work very well with their teams.
Good.
So, that was one of the reasons I didn't panic as much with not renewing the Robert Brown Center, but I'm just letting the board know, we're keeping a close eye on utilization based on that. We do all the time. And so that last page just gives you the trending. The other stuff in your packet, I kind of got out of order, sorry,
No, it's fine.
is the Access Center one, and I'm gonna revise this report because it's the one that says 191 access service inquiries. That's how many people contacted the Access Center. Access Center, other contacts is like people calling us, and it's like, it wasn't even like CMH related. It's like, do you know where the health department is, or?
Sure.
And so the inquiry contacts, you'll see of the 191, what happened to them, like 100 of those 191, or 67% said, yeah, you called the right place, let's get you to a screening. There was 42 of them that didn't even make it to the screening, that we would say there may be another community resource, which, by the way, are navigators. That might not be another mental health resource. That could be any resource in the community. Like, you really need, a break on your power bill, call Action House or whatever it is. And so that table gives you, of the 191 people that were legitimate, calls, there it is. And then you have the total contacts, right? 427. Well, those are just the two of the numbers added up. Right? So the 427 is the 191 plus 236.
Michael, the non-residents, if a non-resident calls the Access Center in crisis, would we still provide services to them?
Well, that's $1 million question. When you get into the world of CCBHC, where there's no
Yeah.
geographical boundaries, we will prioritize our county folks. We will help out folks to get to the right place in their community,
Mhm.
be it CMH, be it like wherever it is. So we're not just uniformly saying, come in for a screening if they're not ours. But we will if we have to, if they're like, but that's always a difficult question to answer because we try to help everybody. In fact, we do in one way or another, either get them to the right place. Or if they keep calling, like trying to figure out what we can do for them. But with the CCBHC rules in the state, there are no geographical boundaries. So if somebody calls and says, yeah, I'd like to receive CCBHC services from you, they could be from anywhere in Michigan and we would do a screening.
Mhm.
Now, as of yet, we have not broken up our data for CCBHC inquiries and eligibility for services. We're waiting for auto to get more into our data before we can do that. But it's a note on my notes to add to the reports, because I know you asked before about it.
Tom, was your question also about crisis services? If they show anybody like out of reaching
Well,
or just
yeah,
general
yeah,
services?
Probably just crisis. I'm just thinking we have a lot of people who come here on vacation
Yeah,
or visiting
That's what I was
family.
thinking. Yeah.
If they had a mental health crisis,
Yeah, it's us, we don't.
yeah,
But the other county would be responsible, like if they were placed in a hospital.
Yeah.
The other county or county
or if
financial.
they're out of state.
Right.
Or out of state.
And,
Yeah,
and
out of
that,
state
and
is
that
tricky.
happens. Holland's a big travel destination, trust me. For people that are coming on vacation or just to live,
Mhm.
right? But
Now-
the answer is yes.
Yeah, now somebody from another county calling here saying, gee, I'm looking for specialized residential for my child.
Mhm.
That would be a non-resident.
Yeah, we'd send them somewhere else.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's one of the advantages of the public mental health system is we truly are a community hub for access. To me, it's not the inability to get to get assessed for services in this county. It's who can provide the service. Our access department with their navigators, and I mean, we had 232 unique individuals contact us last month. Each one of those calls can take an hour or more.
Mhm.
Now, if it's a quick, like, no, we're not the chiropractor, that's different. But the private sector, and I'm gonna be grandstanding on this in any public meeting, just so people know, doesn't do this. You call up the private sector, sorry, you have to look in the provider directory. We really walk alongside individuals and find something for them, regardless if they're our clients or not. And that's what makes us a good public system. And you can tell, we're trying to track specifically what we're doing. And I'm sure we're missing some data here. So as we get better and better, that number should probably go up. Then, go ahead. please.
No, well, I was gonna add to that though, Michael, too, because like what people don't understand a lot of times also is that like, if somebody comes into crisis, sometimes the easiest thing to do is to hospitalize them. And that
Right.
takes the least amount of time, but it's not the right thing to do
Right.
most of the time. But it is the easiest thing. The real work goes into try to put a plan together to how to keep them out of the hospital.
Yeah.
And that's what the CMHs do.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's difficult and challenging work.
Far and above, more efficient than the private sector.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Well, most of the private sector, which I used to be part of, used to have their answer machines. If this is an emergency, not call 911, call CMH,
Or go to the emergency room.
like both. It's like,
Yeah.
my clients just called me up. I never put that on. their message. Okay, the other one I wanted you to look at, long time ago, when I first got here, there was the belief that no one gets into CMH. Well, what you're looking at, it is true. This is after you get past our screening, which is the other demographic things you looked at, of the amount of people, we had over 100 screenings, right? So the first set of data you're looking at says how many people got through the screening that got referred for an assessment was 100. Then you had the amount of people that were eligible for an assessment, and we had 51 of them. And 86% were found eligible and 14% were referred to other services. And other services would be other services in our community navigated to there. So it isn't like can't be served from us, good luck. It's navigating them and getting them to like a mosaic or something like that. Counseling. So you'll notice autism is at 100% again. And 13 came in the screening, 13 were found eligible, 0 referred out. This has been a trend for several years now, and we've had about a 300% increase in the amount of people that we serve with autism. It's the fastest growing service population we have. And we don't receive enough resources to deal with this increase in utilization. And so you have that one. You also, the way to read this, graph is of blue and then tan is referred out. Kiddos or adolescents or children, 64% that weren't autistic, right? Were able to get in. And the other ones didn't meet our criteria. They didn't meet the SED criteria or the other criteria that we have. Remember, we have to focus on the most severe forms of illness.
Right.
IDD adult, that's misleading, right? So there was 5 referred to us, okay? And 2 of them were referred out. But usually the N is so low that if you refer one out, you're already at like 30% referred out. If you look at that annual trend line, you can see with admissions, you can see that we have a block, we have a thing on that, eligibility assessments. It doesn't break it up by population. We'll do that for you next time. So you can see, is that a trend with IDD adult? It's not. It's usually about 90% get in, 10 come and one gets referred out. MI adult, this is usually
On the
good.
IDD adult, where might you refer someone out to? Would this be maybe a high functioning person who is?
It could
doesn't
be.
need-
It could be, or it's somebody that can receive the same service within the school. And we can't duplicate, they might be 18 to 26, and we can't duplicate the service, we can supplement around it, so it might be a person there.
Oh, so this could be an 18 or 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and so we can drill down, that's a good point, we can drill down of
Mhm.
what are some of the constellations or profiles of these people, so we get a better sense, and you get a better sense of who's not getting it. We can add a little narrative to it. I think that would be helpful for this report, for you at this level to see it. What I was a little surprised, I didn't get a chance, Anna was off last week and I told her she's never allowed to have a full week off again. But the MI adult, I don't know if you look at that, that's usually a much higher referred out. So, and I don't know if that's the CCBHC effect or just a whole bunch of folks coming in that month. But usually the referred out for that group's a little higher because the volume is much higher. They usually have the most volume of people seeking services, and it's been a long time since I've seen 94% of the people that get to an assessment are found totally eligible there. So we'll look at that trend to see if that's something that holds. And, but that's a huge percentage. I don't know,
Yeah.
look high to you or.
I have a question in regards, this autism rate is always 100%.
One month it was 99.
All right, the question, are we still have the same criteria based on moderate to severe and mild, given
No.
the changes in the diagnostic
No,
category?
you're absolutely nailed it. Autism, the screening to assessment criteria to get in is
Is wide.
very wide,
Right,
to the point where the door is wide open.
okay, so there's no level of severity that we're.
Right, so the further detailed report will start developing over time of those that got into an autism service.
Right,
What are the types of services we authorize initially?
okay,
Because some of it could be another assessment.
Right.
Like to determine what services.
Gotcha.
So this gets you past the screening, you're eligible for at least another evaluation or one of the services.
okay,
What we'll start breaking down is the type of services autistic folks are getting within the
Right.
first 90 days or the first, so you can kind of see,
right,
because the front door is wide open.
yeah,
And then we run into issues of, well, gee, if all of them are eligible for, say, ABA services, applied behavioral analysis, well, they have thresholds where people can get up to 40 hours a week right off the bat. I mean, who gets therapy 40 hours a week? Think about that. The poor kid. But they're authorized for that because there are certain, with that service, there's certain thresholds we have to meet in terms of the amount that they're eligible for. So we'll have to break down this, like what did it result in?
Right.
Like what type of service they got.
thank you.
Because you're right, there's a different, when something's always 100%, the screening tool's off,
Right,
right?
So where my old UM hat here
Yeah.
too, from the other end of it, if 100% of people are getting services, there's only so much resources, right?
That's right.
So, on the back end of that, would it be useful to have a report that says these are the people that are no longer
Sure.
enrolled in services?
Yeah,
that would-
discharge report.
Yeah, a discharge report and the reason why they were discharged.
Yep.
Successfully completed services.
Yep.
Transferred to a higher level of care,
We have a lot of that data.
or,
we
you
can-
know,
Moved out of the area.
moved out of the area,
Yep.
yeah,
Parent denied.
yeah.
One of them is they're eligible for DD services and they said, forget it, I don't wanna
Right.
use you.
Right.
Yeah,
You know?
because I'd be kind of curious to see
Yeah, we have
the
a dispatch.
volume of people that are like from month to month that, or quarter to quarter, that,
Yep.
that do, how many enter and how many are exiting services.
Yeah. We have a report now that we look at that we can add to this.
Okay.
And once we verify the auto data is accurately turned on correctly, but that's a huge component. It's not only the discharge report, it's a level of care change. Do we have people going from one level of care, more stringent, to lower levels? Because it's my belief, and I may be the only CMS director in the world who believes this, that if you're IDD adult, your services don't traditionally go down, they stay the same or go up.
Mhm.
And there's a belief that some of the mentally ill folks should go down. I go, well, not all of them. If
Right.
you're on ACT,
Right, exactly,
chances are you're in ACT, the highest program,
For a long
for a
time.
long time.
yeah,
And even if you have another score that suggests you'd be somewhere else. So looking at level of care change is, I think, something an auto would be able to do
Great.
a lot easier when we link that with authorizations and changes in plans.
Mhm.
Before we could do it, but we'd have to do a lot of hand calculations.
yeah,
I mean, I'm surprised we weren't using chalkboards like to do some of the stuff.
yeah.
Um,
In our old CEI days about like children's services going into adult services.
Yeah.
Or how many of them just age out from services and then they no longer are connected with the agency. Because
Position
they
from-
aged out.
yeah, youth to adult. Got it.
Which leaves a question I had about the autism
Mhm.
services. Is there not a separate program for early childhood intervention for autism that's
Mm.
separate from other services?
We're now the infant mental health people for that.
Yeah.
So we're at,
Mhm.
as long as I remember, unless you guys remember something different. We do, for autism, we're seeing kids of all ages. There's a 0 to, but the evidence-based practice is only good up to age 7, but we apply it to everybody over age 7. Like ABA has not been proven efficacious
Right.
to over the age 7, but we're mandated to use it for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, all the way through. It's a very expensive evidence-based practice, and it's very effective for certain groups. We've just applied it statewide to all groups. But last time I recall, I think we're seeing you guys know, like infants or like the infant to mental health program. But autism services, I think we start at a certain age. What the fine, do you guys know what age we start autism in?
I think Katie will go over that in more detail, but I think just coming in for an assessment, it can start pretty
Pretty
young
early.
that people.
The earlier the better.
that. Yeah, yeah, and that,
We'll add
that really
that
is
to
what
that.
we would like to see too, is the early.
Like age 2 or 3.
Yeah.
something like
But
that.
we do have an infant mental health is a program that we offer, we've had challenges staffing.
We currently have a staff intern.
Yes, yeah, so, that is something that we do, and then with autism services, it's the
Yeah.
younger the better to get in those services.
So we'll add that to our presentation of the board.
Yeah, I think Katie Clausing, the director of those services, could
We'll
really
do that.
cover kind of what her department is doing and who they're.
And the
serving.
age.
And was there not a separate funding program for those intervention services outside of the normal Medicaid funding that the state made available, or was that several years ago?
That was several years ago. I remember you're talking about, it's now folded into
Oh,
the
okay.
expectation. There's autism funding. We have an autism funding line item in our budget.
Mhm.
But early on, it was funded more robustly. And not as much anymore. In fact, they just mandated that we increase the amount of money we pay for ABA technicians to like $60 an hour. I got managers like, I'm quitting and doing that.
Right.
Okay. So any other
All set?
questions? Yeah, all
Any
set.
other questions on this report?
Appreciate the report.
Okay. Then we'll move to the health and safety report. I think someone's not here today.
Yeah, Kristen Penning, so Michael and I think we're gonna work together on this.
Okay.
As stated, I am just returning from vacation.
Yeah.
And Kristen Hennings, who is our director, not director, sorry, our supervisor of compliance and health and safety is unexpectedly out today. So
Okay.
I am sort of covering for her. I'll be trying here. So the Health and Safety Committee is one of the committees that we have here at this organization, and it consists of our staff. You can see that Kristen included who participates on that committee. That committee meets regularly and they're reviewing health and safety efforts across community mental health. So they're looking at all of our buildings, they're looking at a variety of programs. They're assuring that we have effective policies and procedures to make sure that we're safe here, we have emergency preparedness, and that security issues are addressed. So if you were able to look at the report, you can see we have some issues in this building with our refrigerator. The other buildings have figured that out. We struggle here. We have some physical plant safety that's looked at. We do have external inspections that happen. We actually just had one 2 weeks ago. So we're waiting for feedback on that to ensure that our building designs are safe, our staff are safe, our clients are safe. Looking at maintenance, infection control, hazards, emergency management. Vehicles, we have a large fleet of vehicles, so that is a constant safety topic of discussion to ensure that we have things in those vehicles that people are safe with, that we're driving safely, all of those things. And then looking at residential, we get reports from the LRE for that when they do their visits. And then ensuring that we are doing our annual safety training. So it's like Kristen included in here an update on that. So the report that she submitted is what she presents to the leadership team. She presents this report on an annual basis to the leadership team, but that committee does meet.
Yeah, and does everybody know what an E-score is? It was in the residential. An E-score is the score AFCs are required to produce the amount of time it takes people to get out in evacuation, fire, whatever. And so we keep a close score in E-scores, especially for staffing overnight. Because traditionally people are like, oh, you only need one person at night. Well, unless it's a fire. So it's one of those things we pay attention to, make sure they're done correctly, they're updated. And I will just be honest with you, most of the residential rates throughout the state don't reflect an adequate respect to the E-score overnight. We do. I want to make sure there's enough staff on staff and the staffing we allow to allow the evacuation of the most vulnerable in a fire. So if it's a 6-bed home and there are no sleeper staff, everybody's awake, 1 or 2, you usually really like to have 2 there. Sometimes it's 1 if they have the ability to have other staff from other homes come real quickly if they're right next to each other, like at David's house and Ben's Hope. They can, what are the chances of having a fire in all 5 houses, right? So long as the plan includes the ability to get folks to them, that's also part of the E-score. But just so you know, it's one of the main things that we pay attention. It's a licensing standard, AFC licensing standard that transcends CMHs. But the idea of looking at this report is the types of stuff we're looking at. And then we'll start to put together trend data if we notice certain trends with this. So it's actually good that Kristen wasn't here because she'd go through in detail, and I wanted to get you the sense of here's what it really is attempting to capture, and we are on it. I mean, the amount of people that are looking at this stuff, there's a lot, there's robust conversations to this. It gets presented in my leadership group as well.
And Mike, and you may have touched it, but I want to go back to that scope piece about like, is this just more informational at this point in time? There's nothing really to.
Correct.
Right.
So, okay, great.
So if somebody says, hey, you ever seen the Health and Safety Committee report from CMH that they have to do? You go, yes, we review it. But you don't have to go in the weeds and say, tell me about SNPs. Yeah.
Refrigerator clean in this building.
Well, that's because that's been you. Like, I notice every day you get here is the first thing you're doing.
I did it the week you were out. I'm very proud.
Kristen checks that.
It's like the aquatic center also.
Yeah.
I feel like it's universal.
Yeah, we have a lot of people in one building.
Now to get down into the weeds though, you have an outlet next to a sink that doesn't have a GFCI
That's
outlet in it.
Yeah.
It was.
And it has to be put off until you remodel the building. That's about a half-hour job for an electrician to come in and swap it out.
Yeah, and that's where,
Get that
this is interesting being a county department.
Yeah.
We do this health and safety work as part of our CARF compliance, but we have to work with our facilities department
Yeah.
to do those upgrades such as that, or we've had a break room remodel. Those things are done through facilities.
But
So
if
we
you
make
have, if you have a
recommendations.
light switch that doesn't work, you don't have to wait till you remodel the building. You come in, you replace the light switch.
Right, yeah.
And
But
if
you
you have a
can't do
problem
it.
with the
We
county.
can't do it, that's the facilities decision, yeah,
Yeah.
so
The
we,
county, so the county.
yes, the county facilities department makes that decision,
And
so
and
we
we pay them
send that. to
how
them.
much a month to rent this building?
Well, we don't technically rent the building, we pay for the services in the building and utilities. Counties cannot charge CMH's rent.
Mhm.
And that was part of the decision that was made when CMH's went from county department to authorities. And they said, listen, you already paid for the building. Can't charge the departments because they're authority rent, but you can charge them facility costs, utilities, all of those things. So we can present a detailed description of what we pay for in terms of administrative services from the county
Mhm.
for sure to the board. In fact, when we review the 2026 budget, if there's a part of the agenda, you look at next year's budget, this next coming board meeting, Amy will go through that and you'll see exactly how much we pay. But things like swapping out stuff, to me, it's easier just to get it done, right? And so we're competing with tons of different requests for multiple buildings. But make no mistake about it, if there was a very specific health and safety violation that we thought needed immediate remediation, we'd get it done. We'd figure it out.
Another observation, I noticed a month or two ago, there were some new vehicles that were delivered,
Mhm.
Subarus. Presumably, when they need service, we have to take them to Muskegon to go dealership to get them serviced.
No, we have arrangements with dealerships here, or not dealerships, with mechanics here in town. We run our cars through Enterprise.
Yeah,
So Enterprise manages the fleet and then we take it to repair locally, so we don't have to go to the city.
okay, so warranty work on that new vehicle,
We would coordinate with Enterprise to get that.
great.
Mhm.
Yeah, the reason I mention that is, the road commission gets all their vehicles from a state purchasing contract.
Mm.
So if we need pickup trucks, they have.
Yeah.
We get them at a preferred rate through the state. The same thing with passenger vehicles. I didn't know whether that was also available to us as an agency.
Yeah, with Enterprise, we do get a preferred rate with them. The county uses Enterprise, so we aren't just going it alone for our fleet. The sheriff's department, who has the second, or the first largest fleet, ours is second largest. We all work together along with other departments who have fleets.
Great.
Good. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to the compliance report, attachment D.
So this is the compliance committee report. This is a semi-annual report, again, that Kristen gives to our CMH leadership team. But the compliance committee meets monthly. And you can see we have a lot of members on that committee, including CMH staff, CMH leadership, and then corporate counsel also participates in that. At that committee, we are reviewing all of the compliance functions that we need to complete in this organization. So we do that regularly, reviewing reports. So you can see through here, has included Medicaid fraud investigation. We look at complaints. We look at root cause analyses, like Dr. Macheers was discussing earlier. Dispute resolution, risk management, like compliance. At the regional level, monitoring, Medicaid verification, OIG, I won't run through them all, but there are a lot of different areas that this committee is reviewing to ensure that we are compliant with those rules and regs that we're required to be compliant with. We have expanded the membership on that committee over the last year and a half. to include all of our directors, for the various departments. So they can also hear the messages of where we need to kind of get things in line, and what areas we need to continue improving on. I think that's been really helpful, expanding that team. I know for some people it leads to another meeting, but it is, compliance for us is very important, and it is what we need to do to ensure that we're providing really good services to the clients that we serve and meeting all those requirements from our funded entity.
And it can get pretty detailed. If you look at section J, next time we'll add page numbers, so sorry about that. You know, we're looking at billing in, I mean, we're down to like, there was like 16,000 out of $81 million. You know, so we're really looking to see are people billing correctly and that we have to submit, and you can see the reasons in there. Billed services while inpatient. So somebody submitted a bill for daily service when the person was in the hospital.
Right.
So catching stuff like that. Same thing with specialized residential. And so you can kind of see some of the reasons there. And again, like earlier, I could say, gee, one of these instances might be severe enough where we say you can no longer be a provider. So this is how we kind of look at the compliance issues and build a threshold and see if there's a pattern with the particular contractor or staff or provider. Now, your report here won't have their names.
Sure.
Like such and such contract, because it might be the first instance and it's a public document, but we do know and keep track of every contract or issue and who they are and have active plans of correction with these folks when this happens. But we didn't think it was prudent to have like the names of the providers on this particular report. So that's why they're not there. But normally in our committee, we're in the weeds. Yeah, it's Brashears and Company. Okay, let's talk about it. Do we need to get extra training in there? Did the billing department show them? Do we have to have Bill go and talk to them? So all that stuff happens there.
How often do you meet?
Monthly.
Monthly.
Michael, with the billing itself, does PCE, do they provide, or is there a way to build in like red flag as far as
Yeah.
like conflicting reporting?
Yes, the PCE, the new system we moved to, which is a PCE product we call Auto, does have those flagging capabilities that we didn't have as much in the past.
Mhm.
So it does look at those. In fact, PCE won't allow you sometimes to do certain things until you do it right. So like I know with our own internal services, if you don't put in the right method, it stops you right there. It says you can't go forward in submitting this authorization or this claim or this, or even documentation. You didn't sign it, it won't close.
Right.
So we have a lot more of those firewalls built in. And you gotta remember, the PCE system was developed for the CMH systems over the years.
Mhm.
And so they understand our regulations. And every time the state makes a change, they get to update their system. We have not had that ever. Every time the state makes a change, we've had to manually do it within our own system and hope that we can get a workaround or hope that the company, and so we're thinking our compliance enterprise will strengthen considerably with the EMR.
Mhm.
I know Kristen hopes so, our compliance
Yeah,
officer.
Kristen is monitoring a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
She does a fabulous job.
She does.
She ensures that we're staying in compliance with many different things, but
Good.
I think she's looking forward to some of the stuff that might be a little more automated.
I bet.
Make her life a
Bet.
little bit easier.
And we wanted to show her off to you guys, because I tell you,
That's great.
you know,
Scared.
yeah, that's what she got.
I wish that was the reason.
Well, yeah, she wasn't well and had to make her go home. She was gonna stay no matter what.
Yeah.
We'll have her come though sometime so you guys can meet her. She does exemplary work, so we are
Sounds
lucky to
good.
have her. And compliance is integral to what we do.
It's huge. Any other questions?
I found this very informational. If I was operating a specialized residential setting and I provided services all day long to a resident and they died at 11:45 PM, I wouldn't get paid for the services I delivered that day?
Medicaid will not allow us to pay, but we
Wait.
can make an internal decision here to fund that via general funds.
And we do.
Well,
The Medicaid folks won't let us, but we use general fund to cover that day, because that's not right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right, so all day long, sorry.
Yeah.
yep, so they had to, we had to go in and fix billing for those instances, so, you know, that's.
But that's a state
It is.
regulation.
That's a federal,
Federal.
yeah, that's Medicaid regulations.
Is that also the case, like if on that day the person went inpatient? So that day one of hospital would be inpatient paid and you couldn't bill for the
Well,
services?
I don't know, I can't answer that with
Okay.
full, let me look into that.
Okay,
Kristen could answer that.
I'm like, maybe, let me look in.
yeah,
Sorry, you can't go in until 11:50,
Right, right.
12:01.
yeah.
I believe that is correct, because I think looking back at, I don't know if it was this report or something else I looked back at today, but somebody was inpatient and we did have to do take backs.
I think so.
So there's
Yeah, I
the-
think that is.
There was some accidental double billing,
Yeah.
and so when we're going back and reviewing.
The opposite is true though, too,
Yeah.
because the day of discharge doesn't get paid for the inpatient stay, but if they go
Correct.
into services,
Yeah.
then they would be receiving payment at the.
And it's usually services that are daily rates, like a daily rate. I mean, there could be a chiropractic service, just make up some here, and then here might not impact it, but you know,
Mhm.
same day for daily rates.
Yeah, if you look here, it is in J where they were trying to bill while somebody was inpatient. We
Yeah.
tried to bill apparently, so, and a residential setting, so no,
Yeah.
that is not allowable. And PCE will make it easier for us to catch those things, like Dr. Bashir's just saying, it has some of those safeguards in place that our
Yep.
previous EMR just didn't work as effectively anymore for us.
And is it true, at David's house, let's say, if a resident at David's house goes home with their parents for the weekend, if they're not there at midnight, David's house doesn't get paid for the
Correct.
services they provided
Correct.
that day.
Yep.
Mhm.
Other questions, comments? Okay, let's move on to Chelsea. Millage, what's in the works?
Yeah, so, a lot's happening with millage. Unfortunately, I don't have data to present to you today. I'm hoping I'll be invited within the next few meetings to present that, but just kind of wanted to keep you in a loop of what's going on and what's the expectations, of the organizations that are funded by millage, but so with social recs, obviously that's Heritage Homes, I guess Pioneer and Momentum. So they've been provided the quality of life surveys that are attached in the packet. The expectation is for them to give them to me quarterly, so the first due date would be August. Historically, all four social recs used to meet on a quarterly basis to kind of start discussing challenges, good things, bad things, and kind of bounce back ideas and feedback. And that kind of, they stopped meeting in person and I've brought that back now. And so we met in May, and so we're meeting back in August. And we're gonna be hosting at each site and learn from each other, and hopefully that will produce some really good outcomes. So that's something that's been happening. One of the big expectations that was new with the social recs was, as far as data, was being able to run the participants through our database
Right.
to identify any crisis contacts or inpatient hospitalization. So they've started to provide me that information, and obviously with our EMR change, creating those reports and getting things going was a little bit on the slower end, but we are doing it now. So I'm hoping that the next time I present to you, I'll have that data.
Great.
So,
You know,
there's-
is it a preventative factor? So we want to.
yeah, and that's essentially what the quality of life surveys are here to do as well, to recognize and acknowledge the impact that social recs and millage dollars are having on our community. As you guys know, our millage is up for a renewal within twenty
Really
twenty-six.
important.
Yes, so it's very important to be able to capture the impact and the importance of millage dollars within the community, and this is one way that we're doing it.
Yep.
With that, I'm gonna piggyback on that, is, I know normally we do like an annual kind of synopsis of the millage report, and I feel like the community deserves more transparency throughout the year. And so I'm going to be creating a quarterly report that kind of highlights millage programs, that provides a little bit more in-depth dive. Because I feel like the one-pager report only like scratches the surface as to what these programs are doing. and they deserve more, the community deserves to know more.
Mhm.
So, I'm going to steal Dr. Bashir's tagline, and it's gonna be called Your Millage Dollars at Work. And so the first one I'm hoping will be done by the end of this month. So that's really exciting. And then as you guys know, we had the second RFP with the
Right.
millage, savings. And so that funded 9 organizations. Onboarding has been completed, and I meet with them in August to review goals and making sure that they have everything that they need and making sure that they stay on task and just be a little bit more involved with our millage programs than being like, you good? Okay, good.
Right.
And with that comes like the data report sheet that's also included in your packet. And depending on what, program they apply for, they'll complete the mental health quality of life survey or the social rec survey as well. And so that expectation is the same, it's quarterly. So I'm hoping to have some full graphs for you next time and some data to show. But unfortunately, the timing of it all just and switching EMRs, it just delayed some things.
Appreciate your efforts. I mean, people are going to want to know what is going on with the millage as we kind of head
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
a cell, basically, so.
Yeah.
It'd be important to have those reports, the stakeholder groups. I'm already starting to talk to some of the stakeholder groups in regards to it. And so, I probably want to coordinate with you around some of that stuff too.
Yeah, Anna and I are kind of tackling
Yeah,
that
both of you.
venture together. And I think we have some really awesome resources and some ideas throwing like on the
Mhm.
table, so I would love to
Yeah,
collaborate.
And
absolutely.
these are services that are only happening, would not happen without
Without
the
millage.
millage,
the
because
millage.
it's not replacing Medicaid funding to pay for these. These services would not be happening if it weren't for the
Correct.
millage.
These are unique to our community.
Right.
And it's been around for 10 years. These
Yeah.
programs have been around for 10 years. And so I think it would be very,
I know.
yeah. So I think it would be sad to see if a millage doesn't get renewed. Obviously, it would have major impact to the community and
Yeah.
CMH. And so I think we're very passionate and very eager to do what we can to make sure that it does. So.
Yeah, when we added the use of millage surplus for these 9 new 1-year programs, it was extending services out, in a lot of different ways. And so you'll be able to see your millage dollars at work, but really it, like we say all the time around here now, is our millage is helping us keeping community and community mental health. Without that, we'd have a little bit of general fund services and a Medicaid health plan. We're beyond Medicaid.
Yep.
In Ottawa County. And so millage makes us a distinctive partner. And that's why I'm very specific and very intentional on making sure millage dollars are not used to supplant Medicaid. It never has.
Right.
But we have to be very careful because Medicaid's not doing its share for sure.
I think the more you say it, the better, because
Yeah.
people in their mind will conflate those things.
Yeah.
And we just have to be really clear about that over and over and over.
Yeah, but Chelsea and her staff, I remind myself that Chelsea's involved in every one of our controversial programs. All the millage programs, all of the CCBHC, all of it. No one's given us a hard time about that traditional Medicaid program. So between Anna and Chelsea and their staff, they have to do that delicate balance of what is CMH?
Right.
And how do we do things that other CMHs don't, if it's, and even being a county department has a privilege. A lot of CMHs that are not a county department, while they're waiting for the state to send the funding or the region to send the money, they don't have enough money to cover their payroll. Our county covers the payroll and then recoups the revenue later, where it's a huge advantage of keeping stability in the CMH department. And our county never once says, sorry, that revenue didn't come in from the region, your staff don't get paid this month. That's happening everywhere else. Before we conclude, I'd like to just briefly read 3 letters that I got,
You bet.
if you're okay.
Yes.
Because we do a lot of evaluation and intake in this committee But here are some of the best adaptations of what CMH services means to some of our folks. So Chelsea's had her staff start collecting letters that the people would like to send to the governor or to legislatures about their CMH services. Not in a way that says, do this or we're gonna close, but hey, would you like to share your thoughts? Very open-ended, so people are not being forced to write these in some type of, work camp. So I'll just read three of them, and I'll keep the names out of it. I'm writing to ask you, this is to the governor, to protect mental health care for us because some people are dealing with depression. If CMH was not around, I would not be in a good place. They help me with my depression, they give me medicine, they help me a lot. If it wasn't for that, I've been through a rough time. CMH provided medicine that helped me for my depression. I could not ask for a better place where I could go to meet new friends. Here's another one. CMH has changed my life for the better. Even though I didn't understand half the stuff they say, I learned mannerisms that they have helped me keep relationships and not be exploited. CMH has provided me growth where I can pass on to other people that need help. CMH partner, Lakeshore Clubhouse, has also turned my life for the better. The people, staff, and system make me feel important, reach for things I want or need, and gives me a reason to wake up every morning. I would like to keep everything the way it is now. And the last one I'll read. My name is blank, and I'm asking you to keep mental health care the way that it is, without cuts. CMH has helped me get Social Security so that I wasn't homeless, prescribed medicines to keep me stable, and out of the justice system, and provide therapy to me, heal from domestic violence. And that last letter indicates to me what we do that no one else does as a
Yes.
system.
And an insurance company's not gonna do that.
Right.
Nope.
These are the outcomes that matter. The rest we're gonna monitor as a board. But this is how we know. Now, we could have other statements of improvement, we'll take them. But these are unsolicited. And you can see the dimensionality of how we're helping folks in different ways. And to me, that is the greatest performance and quality improvement indicator, is those statements.
Yep. It'd be
And we'll
helpful,
keep bringing them to you.
be helpful if the whole board could hear that.
Oh, yeah, they will.
And I did want to say, thank you, Chelsea, for question number one. That's the first question we should be asking. You know, it would make your life
Yes,
better.
Yes.
Thank you, yeah.
That's what it's all about, right? Trying to figure out and
Mhm.
that we're.
And this one too. I feel happy when I come to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Not every day, but you know.
Now, I do have a question for you though, potential pitfall. At the road commission, we went for a millage for improving the roads with a county millage. We were prohibited from using public funds for advocating for that millage.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have that same restriction
Yeah.
in the CMH agency?
Did I tell you about the history 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, when this was in the works 10 years ago, I was still working at the ARC Advocacy and Resource Center. We partnered with CMH. One of my board members signed the paperwork with the state so that we could collect money in the advocacy efforts.
Oh, cool.
And so we hosted meetings at our office and talked about, where is this money gonna go? We're gonna buy signs, if people can put signs up. So CMH did collect money, they were not advocating, they were educating,
Mhm.
but at the ARC, we could advocate and we could, collect funds for this type
Right.
of thing. So yes, that was the workaround we used over 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And that's still true.
Yeah, as an
Yeah.
organization, we are only allowed to do information and
Right,
education,
to
so it really
educate.
does limit us. And we really turn to the friends of community mental health to help.
And it
with
wasn't just the ARC,
advocacy.
it was some other.
We had the sheriff going door to door,
entities also.
didn't we?
Yeah.
The sheriff was going door to door
Mhm.
that time.
Yeah, and I think as CMH, we'll make sure that we, meet people where they're at to be able to educate as much as possible, really campaign,
Yeah. Because a lot of people in the community don't know the array and the scope that all of those that those millage dollars
Yeah.
are going to.
They hear millage and
Yeah,
they say more money. What they
Right,
need
right,
to
right.
understand is how is it impacting people?
yes.
What are the outcomes? I think it's
Yeah.
really, really
And
important.
the investment.
Yep.
Mhm.
Good.
How it's improving quality of life, yes.
Good. Okay, is there anybody online for public comments?
We're the only one.
Good.
Mhm.
No, I don't mean good. I'll entertain.
Mr. Chair, when is the next meeting scheduled? Later or
I would think, if we're going every other
Yeah.
month, September 15th would probably be our best
Okay.
option. Does that make sense for everybody?
Is that the right?
I think it's normally the second Monday, so it'd be the 8th.
But that's fine by me, if that makes sense.
I'm making sure, but I believe
Yeah, because it starts on.
Yeah, we could do that.
Labor Day.
September 8th. Okay,
So it would be two weeks before our regular board meeting.
Correct.
yes.
And I spaced it just in case there were items here that you have to go to finance. Just in case, like, we're doing a new program and, you know.
So it's not always gonna be the second,
It'll always be the second.
will it?
Mhm.
Well,
The second Monday.
yes,
The second
PQI should be the second Monday.
Second
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Finance is always gonna be the Monday before
Right.
board. So that can differ on which month or which week it'll be.
Okay,
The PQI should always be the second, right?
okay.
Okay. That's what
Okay.
makes calling staff to get the reports in.
Are, any other comments, questions? Meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Michael, do you have a